So Prozyme is made up of over 80 enzymes. It's really rich, dark, enzymatic. One thing you'll recognize on the container is that it's called a medium cleaner. And I don't want to get into too much about registration, but registration in California and Oregon and Washington is really thorough, and they require all this efficacy data and species count, and it costs a lot of money. So the way we've actually gone around it, and other companies have used this method as well, is to call it a cleaning agent, which enzymes are a cleaning agent. That's what they do. They break down matter, regardless of what it is. So enzymes, like I said earlier, we rely heavily on enzymes in our mouths, in our gut flora, to solubilize all the food we eat and break it down and make it available and digestible to our bodies. So enzymes are really important in speeding up the process of breakdown. So there are hydroponic gardeners who prefer to use enzymatics that are bacteria-free. You have two schools of thought when it comes to hydroponics. You have guys who want to be sterile, and you have guys who want to inoculate and incorporate some organic matter and materials. So for the guys who want to keep it sterile and don't want to introduce the bacteria, Prozyme is an enzymatic for them, because there is no bacteria, it's all enzymatic. So there's the Prozyme. Flavorful. This used to be called Flavorful with a V, and we used to claim fulvic acid. But for all intents and purposes, the state of California, Oregon, the Department of Ag still won't recognize fulvic acid as a benefit. And to be honest with you, fulvic acid is used for the same reason it's used in human beings. It's also used in plants. So there's all kinds of tinctures and for human consumption. Fulvic acid tinctures that, especially if you're taking supplemental vitamins, A to zinc or any one of those supplemental vitamins, fulvic acid helps with the cell penetration of all of those vitamins and minerals that you're trying to supplement your body. And there's electrolytes in fulvic acid that actually stimulate the cell walls and relax them enough to where all of what you're trying to supplement is smoothly transitioned into the cell wall. So fulvic acid, for whatever reason, it isn't allowed to be claimed on a bottle of fertilizer or nutrients or whatever. We cannot claim fulvic acid in here, but that's what it is. This is fulvic acid. This is 8% fulvic acid. And fulvic acid is a derivative of humic acid. Humic acid is derived from leonardite shales. And in that, there's a refinement that occurs once humic is extracted out of the leonardite shales. There's an extraction that goes further that creates fulvic acid out of humic acid. So the way we get around that is calling Flavorful a humic acid derivative. So you may occasionally have a customer who will look at our Flavorful and see humic acid derivative, and then they'll look at our humic product and see humic acid. And the difference there is that one is a derivative of the other. But in that separation, and this is a question we get pretty often also, is, okay, well, if you have a humic acid derivative and humic acid, what's the point if they're both derived from the same source? In that refinement, though, the answer to that question is, in that refinement, there's properties that are gained and there's properties that are lost, and there's still similar properties. So it creates a different scenario and a different product when that extraction occurs. So you have fulvic and you have humic. But yes, they are derived from the same source. So that leads me into our Humboldt, which is a humic acid. That's 8% humic acid derived from leonardite shales. So fulvic and humic do have some similar properties, but humic acid is more of an element that's used during the soil application. So you won't find humic anywhere in our hydroponic applications or our recommendations for hydroponic mediums. Humic is something that we only recommend for soil, because fulvic takes care of the hydroponic end of things. So that's the humic and the fulvic. The deuce-deuce is a 0022, so it's potassium sulfate. There's actually probiotic potassium in there. It is rich in ascophyllum nodosum, so there's other trace minerals that are in there as well. It's basically a potassium supplement, which is important, for cell division and other things. So part of what we're trying to do in our whole organic fertilizing program is disprove the myth that growing growing organically over conventionally, basically organics over chemicals, is somewhat choosing quality over quantity. So a lot of people think, okay, well, I'm going to grow organic, but I guess that means that I'm going to go for quality and not for weight, which is really a misconception. It's a misconception that people have, especially if the problem is that people don't inoculate the things that make the availability of the guanos and the fertilizers and things of that nature. So of course they're not going to have the results that they want, especially in a short amount of time. We're not dealing with the whole season here. We're dealing with 2 or 3 months. So within that 2 or 3 month period, if you want to see the benefits of organic fertilizers and organic amendments like bat guanos and trace minerals and glacial rock dust and all these things that you're adding to your soil, all this goodness you're adding to your soil, if you want to see the benefits of that within a 2 or 3 month period, you must inoculate the biologicals in order to get that broken down in that short amount of time. So what we're really stressing in our organic program is inoculants, beneficial bacteria, the true chelate of organic fertilizing. When you have chemical fertilizers, you have what's called a chelate. When you have organic fertilizers, it's dependent on natural sources to break that down. Again, similar to our own digestive system. And another thing that beneficial bacteria and organisms do for our bodies is they fight pathogens. We have viruses and different things trying to attack our bodies all the time. And our immune system is made up of all these beneficial organisms that fight off all of those viruses and all of those sicknesses that we can get. And they work the same way for plants, and a lot of the same elements that we require in our bodies, we used to get from plants. But our soils now are depleted of those elements, so we have to take supplemental vitamins and A to zinc and different things like that. So beneficial bacteria are not only breaking the organic matter down, but they're fighting off pathogens in your root zone, root rot, powder mold, any one of those things, so it's really important to get those into any organic feeding program. Humboldt Roots. Humboldt Roots is a root stimulant. It's not a rooting hormone. Some people will think that it's actually a rooting hormone. There are no hormones in Humboldt Roots that induce roots. Humboldt Roots is made up of Quillaja salponaria, amino acids, B1 vitamins, seaweed. It's a root stimulant that will stimulate actually more root development. There is mycorrhizal spores also in the Humboldt Roots. So as soon as the root decides to form, it's always good to have a root stimulant in your Oasis cubes or whatever you're trying to take cuttings with. A lot of times what people think is oh, okay, I'm going to use the gels